Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Lucuski, and welcome to the first episode of Inside the Den, a closer look into Saint Vincent Athletics podcast here on WSVC Radio. For each episode, we will recap the previous week of Saint Vincent athletic competitions. I am joined by my co-host, Colt Easterling. Colt, how are you this evening?
Doing good. Thanks for asking, Andrew. So typically we're going to have one of our St. Vincent athletes or coach, but more than likely an athlete here on to chat about their matchups from the past week after our initial reactions and comments from the competitions that took place last week. We'll have an athlete who stood out to us, had a stellar performance. Myself and Andrew will also talk about the future of SVC Athletics, like games to look forward to, matchups to look out for, and look into the playoff chances for our favorite teams. Andrew, if you want to tell the listeners what sports we're talking about today, please do.
Absolutely. So the sports in season for the moment at St. Vincent are men's and women's soccer, football, men's and women's swimming, men's and women's cross country, women's volleyball, women's bowling, and hockey. So let's get to the recaps. First off, we have men's soccer, who lost on Tuesday to Washington and Jefferson, and on Friday to Westminster. And these matches bring the team's overall record to 2-8-6. Their in-conference record is 1-5-1, which, as we'll talk about many times on this podcast, is really the key for teams playing in the Presidential Athletic Conference, because your in-conference record is what gets you into the playoffs. Their record puts them pretty far out of the playoff hunt with just 3 games to go. Franciscan sits atop the conference with a record of 10-1-3 and a 6-0-1 record in the pack. Cameron Rock has had a really solid year in goal for the Bearcats, putting them in a good chance to win most of their matches. Colt, how about our next team?
We're going to talk about cross country now, and we'll start off with the men's side. They head over to New Jersey this past weekend and finished 9th overall out of 31 teams with 279 total runners. It was an 8K race at the Rowan Border Battle, which is just under 5 miles. The top 3 team finishers were 16th ranked Lynchburg, 23rd ranked Washington and Lee, and 6th ranked Johns Hopkins. St. Vincent finished off the day with 356 points, which was good for a 9th place finish, as I mentioned, right behind DeSales College. And points for cross country, you're looking for lower points, so 6 out of 32 is not too shabby. The finishers for St. Vincent that earned points were graduate student Tim Patterson, who finished 45th overall. He's been a staple there for the cross country team on the men's side for about 5 years now, so they'll definitely miss his presence when the season's over. Senior Aiden Jackson also finished top 50, earning the 50th spot overall. Senior Aiden Weimer finished 92nd, and Jordan Rayner and Brady Sundin rounded out the top 5 for the Bearcats, finishing at 102 and 119 respectively. We'll head over to the women's side now, who competed in the same race, but this time they ran a 6K instead of an 8K. A 6K is around 3.75 miles. There was also 31 teams in this matchup, and with this time having 260 total runners. The top 3 team finishers were 4th ranked Johns Hopkins, Rowan College, the host of this event, and Swarthmore. St. Vincent's 274 points were good for 6th place overall out of the 31 teams. And the runners that earned points for St. Vincent were 15th ranked freshman Grace Newbert, 40th ranked junior Miranda Sincata, Cassie Lanza, also a junior who finished 58th, and Kristen Prince and Lily Murphy finished 76th and 104. Now, Andrew, next squad.
Sure, Colt. We're going to talk about the women's soccer team now, which has been a huge bright spot for St. Vincent Athletics this fall season, and it's really hard to overstate that. They lost to Westminster last week on Friday 2-1, but they beat Washington and Jefferson 2-0 on Tuesday. The women's team has an overall record of 12-2-1 and are 6-1 within the pack, putting them in a very close second place to the conference leading Westminster. Tanisha Graywall has been a great leader for the team, leading in goals, points, and shots on goal. She also recently broke the record for goals in a season here at St. Vincent College. Rylan Warner has also had a fantastic year in goal for the team with 53 saves and is playing a huge factor in all of their wins. Colt, how about the football team?
The football team traveled to Westminster this past weekend to face off against the Titans. They lost in a battle 0-56. This brought St. Vincent's overall record to 1-6 on the season and also 1-6 in conference play. The only bright spot for St. Vincent's offense was freshman Isaiah Sosak, who totaled 34 yards on 15 attempts on the ground. On defense, there were also some highlights. Senior Wiley Purry had 12 tackles and a TFL. And junior Josiah Wynett had 4 tackles and 1 TFL, and another freshman that showed out for the Bearcats was Nathan Parker, who had a total of 9 tackles on the day.
All right, up next we have the women's volleyball team. They are 9-10 overall this season, but they are 3-1 in the conference. The women's volleyball team last week won against Westminster 3-1. Earlier this season, they traveled to California and they played in the Whittier College Invitation. The women's volleyball teams this year have really been a team effort, with each of the major categories having a different leader. Megan Williams leads in kills, Vivian Poach leads in assists, Stacey Ramos leads in digs, and Lauren Fox leads in blocks. The team is currently 4th in the pack, hoping to make the playoffs.
Next up, we have our men's and women's swimming teams. The men opened their season by traveling to Ohio to face Mount Union. They lost 160-99. The Saint Vincent men won 6 out of 32 total events and 6 out of 16 events in men-only races. Junior Jacob Doritza was one of the bright spots for Saint Vincent. He won his first event of the evening by winning the 50-yard backstroke. Another 50-yard winner for the Bearcats was sophomore Liam Randolph, who won the 50-yard breaststroke with a final time of 27:05. Once again, Doritza won an event for St. Vincent by winning the 50-yard freestyle. Randolph also won the 100-yard breaststroke to pair with his 50-yard win. The St. Vincent men did very well in the 200-yard medley, which, for those of you who are unaware, is a butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle, all in one race. They had the top 3 finishers in that category. Freshman Giovanni Guido won the event. In second place was freshman Sam McCall, and senior James Clark rounded out the top 3 for St. Vincent. The duo of Doritza and Randolph continued their dominance by winning the 400-yard freestyle with the help of junior Alex Leskovansky and senior Robert Harrington. The Cats finished the race in a time of 3 minutes and 21 seconds. The Bearcats also finished second in this event with a team of junior Hayden Klein, sophomore Jacob Halter, Shoma Burt, and Gabriel Yant finishing just behind the first-place team. This event alone accounted for 17 out of the St. Vincent 99 total points. The women also competed against Mount Union on Friday. They opened up their season with a 153-109 loss. The St. Vincent girls won 5 out of 32 total events and 5 out of 14 in female-only events. The St. Vincent girls won the 400-yard medley race with a final time of 4:16. The swimmers for this race were freshman Fallon Ziembiak, freshman Deanna Miller, junior Emma Martz, and senior Abby Leskovansky. Martz won the 100-yard butterfly with a final time of 1:03. Ziembiak was close behind her by winning the 100-yard backstroke. Emma Martz also won the 50-yard butterfly to pair with her 100-yard win earlier in the day. She continued her dominance throughout the day by winning the 200-yard individual medley with a time of 2:24.
All right, Colt. Up next, we have the women's bowling team, which has also had a heck of a season so far. They are 8-2 up to this point in their season. Last week, they traveled to Columbus, Ohio to compete in the Ohio Bowling Conference, where they finished second out of 15 teams. And it's impossible to overstate the weekend that they had. They finished up their weekend with a 277 game, which is good for the second highest Baker game in school history. And as a team, the Bearcats averaged over 188 for the day. Then that is in second place to only NCAA Division I program Wright State University. Colt, that's pretty impressive for a small town team.
Yeah, absolutely. Look out for that record to be broken later in the season. They've done some great stuff so far.
Absolutely. And our final team for the week, Colt?
Men's ice hockey. So the men's team traveled to Pittsburgh where they lost 5-4 in a shootout against Robert Morris University. Zach Radilla scored the first and second goals, both assisted from Zach Motil. Radilla, on his second goal, became the 15th player in St. Vincent history to record at least 100 points. And points in hockey is goals plus assists. The third goal was unassisted by Alex Schau, a power play goal. St. Vincent going forward, though, does need to watch the penalties. In this game, when they were men down, they allowed Robert Morris to score 3 times in one period. At one point, it was 5-on-3, which gave RMU a great chance to tie it up, and they took advantage of that. It was tied 3-3 at the end of the second period, and St. Vincent struck back with another Schau goal, assisted by Tyler Shigo. A late score from Robert Morris put this game into overtime, tied at 4-4, and after no scores in overtime, the game went to a shootout. Radilla and Schau both couldn't connect on their shot attempts, but neither did the RMU skaters. Shigo put his shot in the back of the net, but goalie Vinny Amatucci allowed the same on the third frame. Finally, a miss from a Polar Bearcat gave RMU a chance to take home the win in their home rink, and they did.
And that'll end our recaps for this week. And as Colt mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we will typically have an athlete or a coach on at this point to talk about their team's performances from the last week and the season overall. But since this is the first episode, we elected to not start that until next week. So tune back in for that. But for now, we will take a look at the upcoming competitions for the Bearcats. I'll start with the women's soccer team. They face off against Grove City and Chatham next week before finishing up their season the following week. Men's soccer will also play Grove City and Chatham before their season finishes on October 30th. Bowling will travel to Niagara Falls the first weekend of November, and the women's volleyball team will face off against Teal and Allegheny next week.
The men's cross-country team will finish up their season in the next month, where they will host the PAC Championship. Same with the girls. Football has a home game against Carnegie Mellon this weekend. It's a Hall of Fame game. We're going to be honoring the Tangerine Bowl, so please come out to that if you're available. Men's and women's swimming also have a meet this Friday at 6 p.m. They'll be facing Penn State Altoona.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Cole. So the plan for the future episodes for this podcast is we will record on Monday nights after the weekend's competitions to make sure that we can get all teams recapped. And then we're looking to release on Tuesday mornings at the latest Tuesday afternoons. Cole, this has been super fun. I'm excited to keep this going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, if you have anyone that you think had an outstanding performance and needs to get honored here on the podcast, or think would make a good host or a good guest, please feel free to reach out. You can email either one of us.
Absolutely, yeah. We would love for fellow teammates and students to recommend people they believe are deserving of honors.
Yeah, we're trying our best to learn about every sport here, so feel free to reach out whenever.
We appreciate the help.
Yes, absolutely. That's going to do it all today for the Inside the Den podcast. For Andrew Lucuski, I'm Colt Easterling. It's been a great time. Thank you, guys.